I just want to thank you for watching my first video on Mass Effect Andromeda. I plan on doing more of a formal review of the game when I'm done with it. I'm kind of gonna take a little absence here for the next week, talking about Mass Effect or anything like that, and I'm going to do an actual video review of it proper when I've actually finished the game. So I look forward to doing that. It'll be maybe sometime in April. I'm also going to be putting up a video about the Switch, like my impressions of it, how much I like it, what I like about it, what I dislike about it. That'll be coming probably in the next week or two here. I gotta really work on it. Anyways, this is my actual first proper video, so I thank you for watching it. If you like what I'm doing, again, I'm just starting at this, so feel free to like, share, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. And thanks for sticking with me. And I didn't introduce myself in the first video other than my plans for this channel. So my name is Kyle. Also, I go by the gamertag Master Prophet. It's a long inside joke that I've had for like 10 years. So anyways, thanks for watching, and I hope you'll stick with what I'm doing here with the Marble Gallery. Thank you. Bye.
Alright, so let's talk about Mass Effect Andromeda. Mass Effect Andromeda, obviously big game of the year, one of the most anticipated games of 2017, and a game that a lot of people have been really looking forward to. I definitely was one of those people that was very, very looking forward to this game. I've played about 20 hours at this point. I like what I've played, but it's not perfect, and it definitely has a lot of issues. Going through the game and everything. Like there's things I really like about the game, and there's things I strongly dislike about the game. It's not a perfect game by any means necessary. As you can see in the beginning of the footage here, this is the second planet you visit. I forget the name of it off the top of my head right now, but this is the second planet you visit. This is like the equivalent of Hoth. It's a cool planet. The one thing I will say about this game, a positive thing I will say about this game, is that the graphical fidelity of the worlds and the environments are fantastic, like some of the best. Visually stunning. It is the character models and the character facial animations are what gets ragged on the most here, unfortunately. And that's definitely something about this that's disappointing when you watch. As you can see in the footage here, that's something that definitely disappointed me about the game, and I don't want to harp on it too much because, man, there are things in this game that are very disappointing for sure. I don't want to harp on the thing that everybody's harping on, which is facial animations and stuff. I've seen some bad ones, like some of them look really, really bad, but it is what it is. I've kind of moved past that at this point and just expected there. And just expected it. Everything else about the game, like the story, I guess we'll start from the very beginning of the game. I'm going to try my very best not to spoil anything about the game. So the game starts out, obviously you are the Pathfinder, but you're not the Pathfinder in the beginning. Your dad's Pathfinder. Obviously through a series of events that are extremely ham-fisted, you become the Pathfinder. If the first thing I will complain about in this game is that they rush everything. By the time I was at this Hoth planet right here, I have all the party members already. There is no big like, hey, we're gonna go out, we're gonna search for this person, or hey, we're gonna go out, we're gonna search for that person. They all pretty much come to you and just join your party. And it's really quick, it feels really rushed, and that is something that concerns me about the game as I play it. It definitely, they shouldn't have rushed that stuff. They could have let it breathe more. That's something that I really wish this game did better, for sure. But the characters, like, we'll dive into the characters a little bit. There are 6 characters. There are 2 humans. There is the chick, Cora, there is the dude, Liam, and then there are 4 alien characters that are in your party. Obviously, on the screen here, you can see Jal. He is the Argonian. I want to call him an Argonian or Arganian or whatever, but that's Elder Scrolls. It starts with an A. He's one of the new races of aliens in the game. Actually, a pretty cool race. I think they're pretty cool. Interesting. They kind of remind me of the characters from Cameron's Avatar movie. The other, obviously, there's PB the Asari, which everybody kind of knows from like trailers and footage, and that was like the first person they showed in the very first trailer for this game, all the way back in 2015. She's cool. I've got nothing against her. The new Krogan is fantastic. Drac, I really like him. He's a super grizzled old Krogan that's seen everything, so I like what he's about. And then there's also Vetra, who is the new Turian. She's fine. She just seems like a female Garrus. I haven't really used her much yet. I'm kind of stuck with PB and Drac. I'm gonna start using the other two of them, but my one complaint is like Liam and Cora are super uninteresting and generic human characters, and I have no desire to even talk to them when I'm on my ship because they just don't bring anything interesting to the table. So they're very very disappointing characters. Maybe that changes. Again, these are early, impressions, 20 hours. I assume I'll probably be spending another 25, 30 hours with this game until it's done, but I don't exactly know how long it is. But yeah, they're disappointing. But the other characters seem pretty cool. I do like that this game, there's not a lot of repeated enemies from previous Mass Effect games. All the enemies that you're fighting seem to be new and different, which is something I do like. I mean, after all, it is a new galaxy, so that makes sense. It's a new galaxy, these are new aliens, and that's how it should be. So that's something that's really positive about the game. I haven't run into really many other aliens and stuff from the past, and any of those ones that I have from past Mass Effect games are usually on your side or part of the Andromeda initiative. So let's talk about the story in the game. So obviously I mentioned the beginning of the game, and that's and how you set up as the Pathfinder. The premise for this game on paper is really solid. It is, you are the Pathfinder, you're out, you're looking for you essentially, to run it down for you, essentially you left with a group of volunteers, a lot of volunteers, I should say, left in 4 different arcs between the events of Mass Effect 2 and 3 as kind of a plan B of what, if the Reapers win, we have this plan B, so not all human life or will cease to exist, essentially. And I think there were even references to this idea in Mass Effect 2 and 3, but very bleak. Anyways, so this is 630 years after the events of, 634, I think, after the events of the original Mass Effect trilogy. And it's kind of interesting because there's things that are cool in there. Like, a prime example is one of the biggest things that you deal with in Mass Effect 3 is, the genophage thing with the Krogans, and obviously there's an ending there. I'm not going to spoil, what that is for people that haven't played Mass Effect 3, but there is an ending to that storyline in Mass Effect 3. Mass Effect 3 is really good at wrapping up storylines, whereas in this game, it's interesting that they went as far as to, you talk to this Krogan female officer, who is super jarring, by the way, on the Nexus, which is essentially the new Citadel. You talk to her and everything, and she... you mentioned to her about the genophage, and it's kind of I don't know, it's still a thing here, and that kind of thing. So it's interesting to see little small details like that thrown into this game, and I really like that they did stuff like that. Let's talk about the combat. So the combat in the game is it's gotten better for me. I was super jarred by it at first because the biggest thing that they did here that I dislike, and even after playing the game for 20 hours, I still dislike it, would be that they changed the cover system. So Mass Effect 1 had a similar cover system to this game, where you would essentially get behind, you just kind of walk up to cover and kind of just auto get into cover and crouch and everything. And then Mass Effect 2 and 3 had a Gears of War style cover system where you would press A and just get behind, kind of snap to cover, just like Gears of War. And I fell in love with that. And that's what I'm used to. So for them to kind of go back in this game and change it back to what it was is extremely jarring. I'm still not a fan of it, even after, even now being 20 hours into the game. But it's grown on me a little bit. The rest of the combat is fantastic, though. Like, it feels like a super tight Mass Effect game. And again, the combat was always the best in Mass Effect 3 out of those 3 games. I think it's even better here, putting only aside the cover system change up. So they did a really good job with that. I like the powers. I like the fact in this game that you're not hindered to going one path. Like, even though my character is a biotic adept in this game, I can pick and choose whatever I want. I thought they did an outstanding job with that. So props to BioWare. They did a really good job with that part of this game. Everything else, like, it's hard because, like, as a huge Mass Effect fan, that original game to this day is one of my favorite games of all time. I would easily put it in my top 10 games of all time. I've played through that game probably between 20 and 30 times it's been out 10 years now this year, which is nuts. We're coming on the 10th anniversary of Mass Effect this fall. But anyways, it's interesting to go to this, and I was extremely hyped and extremely looking forward to this game, and it's good. Like, it's not what I expected it to be, but it's also not bad, and I'm not as put down about it like I was initially when they started talking about when all these reviews came out. We're like, well, it's all over the place. Like, some people gave it 6s, some people gave it 9s. Like, it's all over the place. So, but I think it's good. What I've played of it, I've enjoyed it more. The first hour of the game, as I've said before, is wretched. Like, it is such just a ham-fisted mission where you basically get thrown into the position of Pathfinder. And I walked away from the first hour and a half of the game the very first night bummed, extremely bummed, to the point where I was like, I don't know if I'm going to play any more of this right now. And the thing right now is I just came off of Horizon Zero Dawn, which is one of the best games of this console generation. And then I also came across, right after that, I put in about 45 hours of Zelda Breath of the Wild on my Switch. So to go from these two really big, great open world games to this, it's hard, to say the least. And like, the thing is, I put 50 hours into Zelda, and I'm nowhere near done with that game. I just finished the first dungeon the other night in that game, after spending all this time doing all these shrines, leveling up my hearts and my stamina, and going and getting the Master Sword and the Hylian Shield. And then I finally was like, well, I should probably go and do one of these dungeons. So, but that's a game that can sit for a bit. So, whereas, and that's something I can come back to, but I was super excited for Mass Effect, and coming, and sitting down and coming away from it after the first week of it being out here. I really like it, but it's not for everybody. And I think longtime Mass Effect games are going to be very divided on this game. I think that you're going to have the diehard fans that forgive a lot of the shortcomings of this game, and you're going to have the people that just flat out hate it. And it kind of boils down to what kind of person you are. So, like, the very first, like, there's some people that are going to be on one side of this and be like, well, it's still Mass Effect. And this is kind of the category I fall into. Like, it's still a Mass Effect game. They're not making another Mass Effect game right now. Like, that's super not a thing. I'm sure it's on the back burner of, we're going to make, a sequel to this at some point, but I don't think, other than very, very early planning stages, I don't think that's really is a thing that's very highly talked about right now. And it's very clear when you play this game that the B team of BioWare made this game, not the A team. And the A team of BioWare is working on a Star Wars game that I could only hope is a Knights of the Old Republic 3. But it's interesting because a lot of things that people don't realize, like your average consumer and stuff doesn't realize about Mass Effect Andromeda, is that it's not a it's not made by the same people exactly as the trilogy. Most of those people went off and did other things. Like, there's still people that worked on this game that worked on the trilogy, but the major players like Casey Hudson and stuff, they went off and they're doing their own thing, and that's cool. So this was a B team of people at BioWare, and it was a lot of leftover people that did Dragon Age Inquisition, and there's even some people that worked on this game that worked on one of my favorite games of the last generation that no one played, which is Kingdoms of Amalur: The Reckoning, which is an extremely underrated RPG. And none of that is to say that that's bad about this game at all whatsoever. Like, this, it makes sense when you play this game. Who made, like, at least as I play this game, it makes sense to me who made the game. Like, if there's things about it that feel very Dragon Age Inquisition like, that's not a bad thing, but it's just the writing in this game, like, it's good, but it's not on par with how excellent it was in the original trilogy. And another, if I have another complaint about the game, is removing the Paragon Renegade system. It's just not in this game. The argument against removing it was, well, now you have all these different branching paths you can take, and you don't really know if it's a good thing or a bad thing to say. You'll see later on in this video, coming up after this battle that I'm on, I picked one option, and my chick said something I didn't even think would come out of her mouth. And I was kind of taken aback, like, oh wow, she's getting pretty fierce with this guy. And it's not that that's a bad thing, but I did not expect that at all. And I wouldn't know because there's no Paragon or Renegade. They do not tell you in this game how that works. You just kind of go into it. The only thing I figured out is, like, there can be a small heart dialogue option, which is like, you know, you're happy and everything. And then there's the big heart, which is like you're flirting with somebody in the game. I haven't not done any of the romance stuff yet in the game. We'll see how that goes. I don't even know who that's going to be yet. Again, I'm very early in the game, about 20 hours in. But I've liked what I've played thus far. It has held my interest, and the more I played it, you know, I got it the first night, I played that first hour, was disappointed, and then went back the next day. I was like, no, I need to give this game more than an hour. And then it started clicking for me, like, no, this really is Mass Effect. This actually does feel like a Mass Effect game. It just took me time to get into it. And part of it is it's all new characters, it's an all new setting, it's a new galaxy, for crying out loud. So it's going to be different. But one of the other things I want to touch on is, and it's not really in this video, unfortunately, but they brought back the Mako from the first game, but now it's called the Nomad. It is a better car than the Mako. The Mako was a cool idea on paper, but it was kind of wonky to drive. This new Nomad car drives perfectly. They did a really good job with it. You can upgrade it. I really like that. But the downfall of it is there's only like 4 or 5 planets you actually set foot on in this game, from my understanding. Again, I've only been to 2 or 3 of them now. But one of them, you can't even use the Nomad. So I don't understand the mindset of, all right, we're going to build this car, but then we're going to build this awesome planet that you cannot drive it on. Like, when you get to the planet, it's like a jungle forest planet. So if you're playing the game, when you get to it, you'll understand why the car isn't going to work there, because it just wouldn't be possible to drive this car in the environment that you're in. Like, I understand it, but still, just from a design point, like, why stick that in here if you're just gonna make a world that can't use it? It just seems like a poor design choice. But maybe that's just me. I don't know. So, but at the end of the day, I really like Mass Effect Andromeda. I don't think it's not perfect, and again, you're gonna fall under one of 2 categories. You're either gonna really, really like the game, like me. I really enjoy it. I don't think it's perfect, but I'm not. I was initially bummed, but I am not as bummed the more I play it. Again, and it's easy to rip on the game for the animations and stuff, but the more I play it, the more I think, like, how many times I played through that original Mass Effect trilogy, especially the first one, and man, it's kind of reminds me of Mass Effect in that regard. So, I mean, and you can look at the argument on the other side of it as, hey, they switched from Unreal Engine 3 to the Frostbite engine. I understand why EA would do that, because as a publisher and everything, they kind of own that engine. So I get it. I understand the sentiment behind doing that, but I don't think it was the wisest decision. But I know why they did it, because they didn't have to pay for the right to use that. And that totally makes sense to me. I get why they did it. But and that's why I think you're seeing a lot of these facial animations. But in 2017, it is no longer excusable to see the dead eye stares and just stuff like that with the facial animations. It's not excusable anymore. So that's, if there's one thing I can really harp on the game, and I don't want to be the one, like, I don't want to be like everybody else and make that my soapbox to step on for disappointments in this game, but man, the eye and the facial animations are just downright terrible at times. But even then, still, like, it's not enough where I, would tell somebody, like, if my overall, at the very end of the day, what I will say, and the easiest thing I will say for anybody is, you can see my chick's eyes right there, like, man, holy shit, they look so bad. And there's her famous line. That blew my mind that she even said that. Anyways, but to end this right now, I would say you're going to fall into two camps on this game. A, if you're a huge Mass Effect fan like me, and you want to play another Mass Effect game, and you're pumped about it, go out, get the game, and play it. Don't listen to other people's advice, about it. And, well, I gotta, decide what I want to do about my purchase and blah, blah, blah. Just go get the game and play it. Make up your own mind. But if you are a casual fan, or if you're somebody who's never played a Mass Effect game, if you're a casual fan, I would tell you, wait a couple weeks. Game will be on sale. Games go on sale 2 to 3 weeks after they come out these days anyways, because retailers got to get these games out the door so they can get new product for the next big thing. And if you're somebody who's never played a Mass Effect game, the best advice I can give you, rather than to go out and spend your hard-earned money on this game right now, wait till this game's on sale. And if you've never played a Mass Effect game and you have an Xbox One, go out, get the trilogy, go to your local used game store or whatever, go on Amazon, whatever you want to do, buy the trilogy, do yourself a favor and play the trilogy. Those are 3 of the best games that came out last year. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the initial impressions of it, and I hope to do a longer video on the future. So, thank you.